Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Gary, aka Weak Fingers, coming at you with another review of Airflo rails by David. He's really awesome, and he sent me this to review, so I'm excited to review this for you today. So first things first, what I got in the package was this Airflo rail. This is a high rail. I believe I actually had him make the rail a little bit higher than normal. I think it's at 2¼ inches high, which makes it a medium to high rail. I also got a bunch of these neat looking Airflo stickers. There's some other Airflo stickers that I can't really find right now, but oh no, here they are, right here. And these are the included non-slider pads. They're foam tape, and it's not quite as grippy as what I have on the bottom right now, which is FBS store tape. But it does include non-sliders. Of course, I got the rail, and I got a note from David saying thanks for the business. So that's what came with the package. My first impression of the rail was that it's very sleek, and the construction is very solid. I have no complaints about the way the rail looks. I think it looks very sleek. When I first got introduced to Airflo rails, I remember the welds being slightly messy, but if you look, they're much more even and uniform, and they surround the contact point, and that it helps in that way that it makes it more durable, as well as it doesn't look bad, because I like the fact that the welds are visible. It makes it have more of a gritty, homemade appearance, but at the same time, the paint quality and the quality of the materials used really set Airflo as a professional business with great product. So my first impression of the rail is it's very solidly built, great. I think he uses cold rolled steel for the rails. To correct me if I'm wrong there. In terms of construction, I have no complaints. For judging the performance of the rail, these are some newer Y trucks that don't really have the paint grinded off on them too much, which means that the grind is going to be excessively smooth compared to trucks where the paint has worn off. These are just China wide trucks painted in white, but the paint has chipped off significantly. So if you listen, you can hardly hear the grind. This rail, if you look on the top, it's almost like a very smooth, polished steel. David now told me that he polishes the rails himself when he gets the metal from the supplier, which means that it removes the coating that comes with it from when the steel is shipped out, and that means that it should rust less, and it shouldn't rust as often. A big complaint from Airflo is that the rails rust, but from what David tells me, if you grind the rail or use it at least once or twice a week, then the rust shouldn't develop, as long as it's not in an extremely damp environment. And even if it does rust, I had ordered an anti-rust kit, which is some steel wool. I don't know exactly. It looks like very fine steel wool. If some rust does happen to develop on the rail, which I don't expect, I will just use the steel wool lightly on the rail, and the rust should come right off. In terms of performance, this is as smooth as it gets. I really didn't know what to expect, because, you know, I've made a cheap rail in my older videos using a door handle, and it was made of steel, stainless steel, sure, but you can hear the grind, and it wasn't quite as smooth as this Airflo rail. With trucks that have been grinded down a bit, you can hear the grind, and the kingpin sticking out on these trucks as well. You can hear the grind, but it's still very smooth. Board slides and nose slides, very smooth rail. I love the roundness and how the rail, how thick the rail is, because it really does make your tricks more difficult with a wider round rail, I believe, because it's more round and your trucks are really going to slip more on a rail like this. In terms of performance, I have no complaints. Grindability, the rail doesn't tip over often at all. It doesn't tip on these edges here unless you put excessive amounts of pressure, which I am right now. So that's not a complaint. I have had the rail fall over like this, but that was only because sometimes I would land the board or I would hit the rail with my nose, like kind of like doing a trick, and I get caught up in it. But doing a trick, the rail never slips. The included non-sliders with the rail actually are craft foam, and while they do work, I have FBS Store extra smooth tape on the bottom of the rail, which works as a better non-slider than the included ones. So it's not his business to include the best non-sliders around, but in terms of what he provides, it does work. But I would recommend putting, rip tape or FBS tape or something like that on there. Or if you don't really feel like wasting, a sheet of grip that you could put on your board, you can just throw the included non-sliders on there. Last but not least, probably the most important actually, my transaction with David. I probably should have mentioned this earlier. I told him that I wanted a rail built to my custom specifications of the blue bases and 2¼ inch high rail. He got back to me that very same night. He actually put this on priority because he knew that I was leaving for Fast Fingers in Germany fairly shortly. So that being said, he had the rail built and completely done within 2 days and contacted me and told me that he had finished the rail earlier than planned and was ready to ship it out. When he did ship it out, he sent UPS tracking number with it, which is great. I was able to see exactly when my rail would get here, which was 2 days later. I got the rail 2 days later, so that we're talking 5 days for this transaction to take place. And for him to work with metal and to have to ship out as many rails as he does a day, there's all the different rails, the C rails, the custom rails that he does. Considering how many shipments he has to make, 5 days is an extremely, remarkably fast shipping time. He was always able to be contacted, and I highly recommend dealing business with Airflo. So be sure to check out the website, airflowrails.com. This particular rail is a standard round rail, which you can order for $17 plus shipping. You can order different custom rails with 3 legs for $23. You can order wrestling rails, elbow rails, and the new C rail. There's also different products such as t-shirts, sticker packs, and anti-rust kits. Definitely 2 thumbs up for Airflo for me. I have absolutely no complaints about the rail. I don't anticipate any problems like it breaking. I can't even fathom it breaking or rusting for that matter because, if you grind the rail often, the rust isn't going to develop and it's a non-issue. So I recommend Airflo, definitely check it out. Give David some business. He's a great person to deal with. Responds right away to any questions that you have. You can talk to him on Facebook. He has an Airflo Rails group, and you could also email him and contact him through the website. Definitely check out Airflo. Thanks for watching my review.